Hello, friends. I am excited to bring you a question from the audience today. Now, I'm going to be honest, I know that some of you listening are men, are brothers, and so I just want to say I'm so grateful you're here. And this episode today is about the real struggle that women feel when sometimes it feels like women carry the shame and men get the pass. So, I love you. Thank you for being here. And just hear my heart as we walk through this, that this is from a woman's experience and a listener's experience. And this is important. I want to address this today because sometimes there is what feels like this double standard of when a man has an affair, it gets labeled as a struggle. But when a woman does, it becomes her identity. Sometimes it feels like men get more understanding and women get labeled. He gets resources and she gets silenced. So today we're going to talk about something that many women feel, but no one is saying out loud. So if you are a woman who has never thought that an affair would be part of your story, I want you to know you are not crazy for feeling this way.
Hey mama, welcome to Intimacy After Infidelity. Do you find yourself Googling, can a marriage survive infidelity? Or what's the first step to divorce? Do you wake up full of hope, only to end the day with more shame when there's another stupid argument again? Hey, I'm Christina Joy, forgiven daughter of Jesus. I too felt the shame of infidelity and wished someone had a roadmap for how to get out of the mess so I could experience freedom. I kept telling myself I just needed to try harder to end the affair and fix my marriage, until I found I needed Jesus to heal some deep wounds in my heart. Through prayer, lots of research, and developing new healthy habits, I was able to find healing to shed my shame once and for all. Now I'm excited to share everything I've learned with you. So find your safe space and pop in that earbud. Let's rebuild your life and marriage better than it's ever been.
All right, friends, before we dive in today, I want to just speak out this thought that you may have had of, okay, Christina, I hear you on these topics. I know it's important, but how do I actually walk this out? Because, friend, here's the truth. You could listen to podcasts like this every week. You could journal. You could pray. You could try to piece things together on your own. Believe me, I did. And while there are many beautiful tools out there, they are not designed to carry the full weight of healing alone. And friend, that is exactly why I created Rooted in Joy, a 6-month healing journey for women who are rebuilding their identity after infidelity. Because instead of trying to figure this out by yourself, you could have a clear path forward. You could have real-time support when things feel heavy. You could have a safe space where you are not labeled, not shamed, and not reduced to your worst moment. And you could have other women, a sisterhood, walking alongside you as people who actually get it. This is your path to freedom and peace and joy. Not more information, but revelation and transformation that actually moves out of your head and into your heart and your body and your life. So if you have ever found yourself asking, okay, but how do I actually do this? That is what Rooted in Joy is here for. Send me a DM on Instagram, send me an email. Let's get connected. No pressure at all, but I'd love to answer what questions you have about it. Okay, so let's jump in today. First of all, we are going to name the question that actually came in. The question was, why does it feel like the man gets a pass and the woman carries all the blame, shame, guilt, ridicule? And honestly, that question carries so much weight because it's not just theoretical, it's actually deeply personal to the friend who asked this question. And I also asked similar questions early on. It's something that probably many of you have even felt in your body and in your relationships and maybe even in your church communities. And you have probably felt the weight of this question even in the silence that surrounds you. I remember in the thick of my story early on after I confessed, and I was doing what I do best, which is searching and Googling and looking for answers and scouring the internet for some resource that would help me. I was looking for someone or something, one thing that could help me understand what I was walking through from a woman's perspective. And I tried all of the search terms, all of the keywords, and I couldn't find anything at that time. And listen, I'm good at searching for things. I know how to dig, I know what to type, but every book, every podcast, every coach was coming from the perspective of, in a marriage, the man who had stepped out and the woman who needed healing. And I remember thinking, wait a minute, where are the women that are like me? Because if this is something that other women have struggled with, surely there would be resources out there. Surely somebody would be talking about it. And surely I wouldn't be alone in this. But I felt alone because I couldn't find anything else. And not only that, but my internal world started filling in the blanks. Well, because these things aren't available, then yes, Christina, you are the only Christian woman on the face of the planet who could have done this. And, I also tried really hard to guard my thoughts. And I was really aware of times when my brain tried to give me some of the really bad label words. So cover your ears if little ears are around. But words like whore or prostitute or bitch. And I don't even swear. I never swear. And so I never even said these words out loud. But what an arrow, a dagger from the enemy who dared to try to plant these words in my brain and tried to get these labels to stick to me. And those words felt like labels that fit. They felt like the best explanation for what I had truly done. Because culture today, it doesn't give women a different narrative. And by golly, the church didn't give me a different narrative either. And so shame tried to. So let's talk about this honestly. Society has almost normalized sexual sin for men. It's almost expected. Pornography, well, that's just something that men struggle with. Affairs, well, men are just wired that way. There's almost this built-in grace. Like when there's sexual sin, we just assume that it comes from the man. And whether you are a man or a woman listening, hear me when I say that is not healthy or right. But that is what is portrayed. It's what's familiar to us in our culture. It's talked about, it's addressed. There's books, there's programs, there's support systems. There's entire ministries built around helping men who have sexual shame and sexual addiction. But when a woman steps forward, it disrupts the entire narrative. It doesn't fit in the box that our society has constructed. And when something doesn't fit nicely in a box, it gets a label and it gets judged and it gets pushed to the edges. And suddenly, if you're a woman like this, suddenly she's not just someone who made a wrong choice. Suddenly she's the story. Suddenly she is the label. Suddenly she becomes the warning. Maybe you have felt this. Oh, dear sister. Maybe your heart has said, well, in this example, he received understanding. So how am I ending up with the judgment? How am I ending up with the label and the ruined reputation? How am I the one that is now the center of the gossip? Friend, if that has been your experience, you're not imagining it, and I'm so sorry that has been your experience. From what I've seen personally and walking with many women, there are a few deeper layers here. The first layer is that shame keeps women silent. I truly believe, truly with my whole heart, that more women have struggled with this than we realize. But shame keeps us in hiding. Shame says, don't say anything. You'll lose everything. You'll be rejected and you'll be labeled forever. And so instead of speaking up, we hide. And when we hide, it just reinforces the illusion that we are alone. Another layer to this conversation is that the church hasn't always known how to hold women and their stories like this. So I say this with all love and also honesty. The church has not done a great job of creating safe spaces for women to bring hard things. Because what happens? Women come and they finally admit, my marriage is hard, and they're told to pray more. And women come and they say, hey, I'm being tempted to step out, and they're told, put up better boundaries and be more submissive to your husband. And while those things are true, they often skip over the deeper reality of what's happening inside of this sister. Her loneliness, her unmet needs, her emotional disconnection, her identity confusion, her shame that she's struggling at all. And so she doesn't feel seen. She doesn't feel understood. And now she doesn't feel safe enough to be honest. Now, there's also another deeper dynamic. And that's where women aren't always believed when they share something hard. Maybe they're minimized, or maybe they're redirected. And so instead of being met with curiosity and compassion, they're met with correction, which again reinforces the silence. So here's my response to this. Dear sister, you are not the label. You are not some stereotype. You are not the definition of the worst thing that you've ever done. That is not your identity. And just because our culture or even the church hasn't known how to hold your story, that doesn't mean that God doesn't see you. That doesn't mean that this has shocked God in any way. You see, when you read the Gospels, you see that Jesus consistently moved towards the women, not away from them. Jesus didn't carry any shame. Jesus didn't attach any labels. But Jesus moved towards the women with compassion and truth and restoration. And the same is true for you. Because it's one thing to name the problem, it's another thing to actually shift our culture. And I believe it starts with us. We're not perfect, and it's not going to happen overnight, but we can do a few intentional things to begin to change the circles that we are in. So, what can we do when we find ourselves in a setting where maybe it's not safe? How can you begin to create that safety for someone else? First, we honor courage. Friend, if you are listening to this podcast, you are already taking steps towards freedom, and that matters. If you've ever messaged me, if you've joined the Facebook group, if you've even just allowed yourself to listen here, that's courage. And I see that in you. And I would encourage you to call that out when you see it in someone else. Another thing that you can do in your circles is that you can become a safe woman. I love the quote, healed people heal people. We don't wait for someone else to create the space. We become the safe space. Friend, you are able to ask your friends, how are you? Really? You are allowed to become the woman at church who isn't just talking about schedules and kids and surface level things. You can be the woman in your church that's willing to have deeper conversations. Not because you're nosy, but because you actually care. Believe me when I say women need more than conversations around babies and schedules and potluck recipes. Women in the church are starving for connection and honesty and authenticity. You can be part of creating a space where more women can be fully known and fully loved. Now, another thing that you can do is to begin to break the silence, not in a way that exposes people or harms anyone in any kind of way, but you can break the silence in a way that invites healing, where you might be the first one that can just say, hey, you're not alone. Hey, I've struggled too. Hey, did you know there's more to your story than this? Whatever that story is. Because every time we speak up and speak in truth, that is when shame loses its grip. So maybe right now you're sitting with this tension of, okay, I hear this, I feel seen, but still, how do I actually walk this out? How do I find safe people? How do I speak honestly without fear? How do I navigate shame when it still shows up? How do I build relationships that actually feel real? And friend, that's exactly where you don't have to do this alone. If you want help walking this out with other women in a safe space, that's exactly why I created Rooted in Joy, a space where you're not labeled, you're not minimized, you're not shamed, but you are seen and you are supported and you are reminded of truth and you're guided into your identity and your freedom. Friend, if you are ready to stop carrying this alone, Rooted in Joy is the space where we walk it out together, and it is your path to freedom. Can I pray for you? God, I lift up the woman listening right now, the one who never thought that this would be part of her story, but also the one who feels the weight of judgment, of labels, and of silence, maybe even isolation. God, would you meet her right where she is, not with condemnation, but with compassion, with your tender presence. God, would you remind her that she is still yours and her story is not over. Her identity is not defined by her past. God, give my sister courage to take the next right step, to speak truth and to receive love, and to begin to step out of shame and into freedom. God, surround her with safe people and real, deep connections. God, let her feel your joy again, even today. Thank you that you restore, you redeem, and you make all things new. In your name, amen.